Hey guys, it's the God Queen, Soncerae here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Spreaker. This is my new podcast. My new podcast is called The God Queen. Yes, don't hate. Don't feel some type of way. Please don't. Just bow down. Just bow down. That's all you got to do. I hope you can hear my voice. A substantial amount of gratitude instead of conceit, because I really appreciate you being here. If you're new to my YouTube channel, I welcome you, my newbies. Tap the notification bell so you can be a part of the notification squad. I gotta swallow. How come every time I do this, I'm choking and coughing and stuff? Like, I hope you guys aren't judging me. Listen, tap the notification bell so you can be a part of the notification squad and never miss a video. Help me continue to bring you the best content on YouTube by sending your donations to me via PayPal. The link is in the description box below. You can check out my positive news media source, Block 11 Magazine, by visiting BMAG Mobile. Your donation will also help with the daily operation of that. Once again, I'd like to thank my fellas, and I always thank you guys for the donations. You guys are pouring them in. You're very, very supportive, and I really appreciate you guys supporting something positive for the community. Please support me in Priest clothing line. It's called Yaora. It's clothing designed to promote positivity. Proceeds of your purchase will go to Atlanta local charities. Send me a picture of you wearing our tees to soncerae@gmail.com, and I will give you a shout out in my next video. If you are looking for relationship advice, you can also send me your questions and video topic suggestions there as well. Please follow me on all of my socials. My Instagram is Soncerae_XO. I'll be sure to add all that information to my comment section as well. Speaking of comment section, say what you want, but don't get your ass timed out. We block trolls up in here. Don't forget to leave the time you saw this video as well as the city and state you live in the comment section. I need that information. I appreciate it. So, I wanted to talk about, I just did a live stream last night with Priest, my husband Priest, and we were on there talking about men and their emotions. And he brought to my attention, and he's told me this before we did a live stream, but he did bring to my attention that when he was younger, you know, his family was very, very, very adamant about helping him control his emotions. And boys usually learn about men by, you know, their first relationship with the first man in their life who happens to be their father. And it's the same thing for girls. We're the same way with our fathers and our mothers as well. And a lot of black men, and Priest said this, a lot of black men who grew up in single parent homes end up becoming gay or homosexual because all they experience in life is feminine energy. So they become extremely feminine if they aren't put around masculine people. And I want a lot of heterosexual men to understand that there are men who were raised by single mothers or even by both of their parents who still ended up being homosexual, even if they had masculine people around you. Simply, even if you don't have a father figure, you may have some uncles or some, cousins or something like that who are positive figures in your life, and you can still end up being a homosexual man. So I don't want heterosexual men to believe that that's where that comes from, because a lot of men believe this. But men who have horrible relationships with their fathers tend to have horrible relationships in general with the opposite sex, and even in homosexual relationships, because I've heard men say, hey, you know, I'm having issues with my man regardless, and they are themselves are a man, and they're also having issues with their woman. A lot of men may have a difficult time dealing with male clients, even people that they work with, because they were raised in a female dominated family where the females were trying to push them so hard to be manly, and they wanted to minimize their femininity or their emotions so these men could definitely not be gay. You know, I think a lot of people were concerned, or are concerned, when they have male children, and a lot of single mothers are concerned that their sons may turn gay. So they try to force their sons to be around males or uncles, or force them into sports or masculine activities, whether their children are interested in these activities or not. and they try to force them. And sometimes, regardless to how hard you try to, put some masculinity into your younger children, they may end up being homosexual, because homosexuality doesn't always have to do with the fact that the father is absent or the fact that the father is, a bad figure. So there are a lot of men who grew up and their father was absent, and it negatively affected them as a child, as a teenager. And some kids were very, very emotional. Like Pre says, he was very, very emotional when he was young and very, very sensitive. And a lot of people made a lot of people made fun of him because of that. And they tried to really, really push masculinity on him, because anytime he showed some type of emotion, they, didn't respond well. But here's my thing. I asked him this during the live stream. I said, so emotion to men seems like it's only one feeling, and that means sadness and crying. That's emotion to men. But they don't factor in all of the other emotions that they have, like anger, happiness. Those are all emotions as well. Grief, that's emotions as well. So when society tries to push men to be emotionless, you can't really do that. Like crying or sadness or grief or anything like that is not a feminine trait. It's a human trait. And a lot of people tend to think, well, the sensitivity of a man is feminine. That's something that men should not, participate in. And usually men who do not have their father figures are sensitive or are too emotional, or they cry. I think all men cry. I think men will cry secretly and won't tell anybody, and there's one thing that, men who didn't grow up with their fathers do that harms them in their relationships with other people. A lot of men hold on to, the same characteristics their father had. Like some men grew up and their father was a piece of shit, so then they grow up and become a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Or because they experience not having a father who was decent, they become good fathers. It could be either or. That's why I'm telling you, simply because a man is grown up with a single mother, that doesn't mean he's going to turn out gay. It could be either or. He could turn out to be really, really gay, or he can turn out to be extremely masculine. So there are men out there who are horrible fathers because their father was horrible, or you got men out there who are great fathers simply because their father was horrible. It's the same thing with, like I said a minute ago, with rape. A lot of women who were raped or molested when they were younger, whether it's a stepfather or uncle or something like that, a lot of them grow up to be super duper promiscuous, and then others don't. Like my husband says to me all of the time, he's surprised I turned out the way that I am, because what I've been through and what I went through as a child, I should have turned out as a prostitute on drugs. Like really, really just strung out. Because most women who go through what I did as a child, being beat and molested and things of that nature, verbally abused and all types of stuff, a lot of people feel like I should have turned into another type of woman, because most women who go through that turn into that. But like I said, it's either or. Now a lot of men will never get the type of closure that they need in order to move forward and be a better husband or be a better friend or father. A lot of you won't be able to talk to your fathers and say, hey, I was expecting you to come pick me up, and you didn't. Or I was expecting you to at least say goodbye when you left, but did you? I want to ask you 1,000 questions. Why did you leave to begin with? Simply because you didn't want to be with my mother doesn't mean you didn't have to be a father. Why did you leave? What happened when you got divorced from my mother? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, a lot of people just want a lot of questions answered. And a lot of time, people are not going to get that type of closure. Fellas, you're not going to get that type of closure all of the time. Some fellas will get the time to talk to their fathers, ask them questions, try to iron, their things out. But for the most part, most men won't get that. And the fact that you're not getting that, you have to find another way to let that baggage go, because you're carrying your father's baggage. Because a lot of the time, the reason why a lot of fathers end up being bad fathers or absentee fathers really is not something that you can take personal, because that has something to do with them. So when you're walking around here and you're treating women bad, or you're being a horrible father yourself, or something crazy like that, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, you know, as a display of why of you not having your father, these things that you're doing is actually you carrying your father's baggage. You need to let that baggage go and find a way to let that shit go, whether you talk to him or not. And I had to do that the hard way. Like, I tried to reach out to my father. I tried to reach out to my father in my 30s. Like, I tried to find my father 3 times. When I was a little girl, my father was around for a little while, and then he left. And when I got older, I tried to build a relationship with him, but he was still a piece of shit. And there was nothing I could do about that. And he passed away before we could have another conversation with each other to try to iron our shit out. And I ended up finding out not only did he not take care of me, because I thought it was me. I thought he just didn't really fuck with me like that. But he actually wasn't taking care of my older brother. He didn't take care of my younger sister, anything like that. So my father was just a piece of shit until the day that he died. And I really can't take it personal. He wanted to run the streets. He wanted to deal dope. He wanted to be a hustler. Because I remember the last time I talked to him when I was like 33, 34. He was giving me some relationship advice. Nigga told me to stay in touch with my freaky side. If I want to keep a good man, I need to learn how to be a hoe and a freak if I wanted to, you know, keep a good man. This is what he said to me. But he also tried to say, hey, I run Detroit, because I'm from Detroit. I was born in Detroit. I grew up in Washington, D.C., but I was born in Detroit. And my father stayed in Detroit his whole life. I think he lived in Texas for a little while. But then he came to move back to Detroit. And he kept talking about how he run Detroit streets. And how he run the streets. And how I need to come see him run the streets. And I was thinking to myself, why would I want to see my father run the streets? I want to see my father having a stable life. I don't want to see my father dealing dope. I don't want to see my father, you know, hustling. And he died like that. He died on the street hustling just last year. So not all of us get a chance to get that closure. So we got to find another way to let that baggage go. And whatever way you can find is up to you. Because see, I didn't have any type of conversation with him to let the baggage go. I had to this is what I ended up doing. And it was crazy because a lot of people wouldn't even be able to do this. But the way that I got rid of my baggage was putting it all out there. Last year, I put it all out there. I talked about all of the things that were bothering me, all of the things that happened to me in regards to molestation. I had never really told anybody that. I never told anybody any of the things that I felt about my father in depth until last year. And meaning I put that shit on YouTube. I spoke to other people about it. And I found out that a lot of other people have been experiencing what I was experiencing. And that right there helped me get rid of the baggage. So that way I ended up being a better woman for a man that I'm with now, because I believe that my daddy issues also had a lot to do with the reason why I kept going through like these horrible relationships. Because remember, you might not remember. If you're new to the channel, I've been on YouTube for 8 years. And for those 8 years, I had been sitting here telling everybody all of these experiences I had been having with men and how horrible that shit was. And it just seemed like I kept choosing these horrible ass men over and over and over and over again. And then last year came and I just started just telling everybody what was going on. I had to just release it. I released it into the universe and I just became like this better person. So you got to find a way to release that baggage so you can be a better man at the end of the day. Just hear me good one time, okay? I appreciate you watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. If you have any relationship questions, you know what to do. Email me at soncerae@gmail.com, okay? Have vision and stay focused.